I said, close your eyes and just envision Sean Payton as the head coach of the Cowboys. We would be talking about them as a Super Bowl contender. This is absolutely a talented enough team to be just that. But when we think of Mike McCarthy as the head coach, do we feel that way? We don't. Certainly I don't. Mm-hmm. I don't still think that most people trust Mike McCarthy in big situations. So Jerry Jones can talk about the options that he potentially had on the table. By the way, try that on your spouse. Go home and say, hey, I had options, but I chose you. Right. It doesn't work. It's not a strong endorsement. I just think that this is a scenario where, look, I understand it. I appreciate what Jerry's saying, but there's no question in my mind if Sean Payton was.
It's actually worse than that. Try saying to your spouse, I had options, and I actually kept them close by rather than letting them go marry somebody else. I kept them near and dear in case I need them at some point soon. So, RC, on a day in which let's give Jerry Jones the benefit of the doubt that he meant to make the situation better for Mike McCarthy, but do you think he actually did yesterday?
You know what? I don't think he actually did, because we're still talking about it. If Jerry Jones comes out and he gives Mike McCarthy a vote of confidence that says, I don't have any options, I burned the bridges, this is where we are with this team, Mike McCarthy is the man for the job, and he's proved it, we feel a different way. Now, Jerry ain't got to say nothing for us. Jerry can say what the hell he wants. I mean, he's Jerry Jones. He owns the most profitable sports organization in the world. But when we look at the options, when you say the word options, we start to think of your two coordinators. We obviously think of Sean Payton, and then we focus on the performance of Mike McCarthy. And I feel like that continues to get lost in this conversation. He actually hijacked the narrative. He said, you know what, I'm irritated about answering these questions when you talk about Mike McCarthy. I don't want that to be the first question I'm asked. And so now we're talking about his response to the question. But what's most important is the reason we're answering the question. An undisciplined team, terrible clock management, not understanding how to perform in critical game situations. Those are all head coach started things. And so in that, Mike McCarthy has to be better at his job. I know it, you know it, Mike McCarthy knows it, Jerry Jones knows it. And like you said about your spouse, you go home and you say, girl, I chose you. Boy, I chose you. And right now, I think you're the one. But I got options. And if you don't act right, them options will come into play.
That's exactly right. And, you know, Mike T, let's sort of take a step back on this for a minute, okay? Because Mike McCarthy is certainly not the only coach on a hot seat as this season begins. There are always a half a dozen changes that are made after every season. But when it's the Dallas Cowboys, when it's Jerry, when there's this much talent on the roster, it's magnified. There's a lot more attention on it. What does Mike McCarthy, need to be focused on right now?
Getting your team better day to day. And that sounds like a cliche, Greeny, but it's the penalties that is really the biggest indicator. Both RC and Jeff talked about those big moments. It's really about the everyday moments. Since he's been the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, they lead the league in penalties. That's plain, simple, and easy to quantify. Now, with that said, they are talented. They were third in the league last year in defensive efficiency, sixth in the league in offensive efficiency. They have great players up and down this roster on both sides of the ball, but they have to get off to a good start, which will be challenging given their schedule, and they have to come out of the gate playing clean football, meaning don't turn it over, don't penalize yourself, and if you're going to lose to the better team.
Yeah, and a little bit later in this hour, I'm going to explain to you why I don't think the division is the cakewalk it has been for them in recent memory either. Quickly, RC, as a player on that team, not sure if you've ever dealt with this. You probably have. When the coach's job status is constantly in conversation, does that impact the players?
You know what it does? My second year in the league, I played for the New York Giants. Nobody ever remembers that I actually played for the New York Giants first. And that was when Coach Fossil, God rest his soul, was being fired. And he came into the meetings and he would tell us, and we understood it, and everybody went into self-preservation mode. We are independent contractors, and we understand now you're playing for different reasons. Now you're playing for other coaches. Now you're playing for the film. And this is also a conversation we would have in the locker room. I don't believe that Mike McCarthy is to that point yet. But here's a conversation you do have. You have conversations about incompetent coaches. You have conversations about coaches you have to win in spite of. You have conversations about people or coaches or people in authority that you believe you can do a better job than if you had their job. I'm not saying these conversations are happening in Dallas, but they are happening in Baton Rouge. And so if one of them call me, we going to talk about it.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.